nobody stops to examine exactly what happened. They instead call the ambulance immediately. Now, my brain, based on the fact that I went to 2 walk-in clinics last year and was in each one for less than 8 minutes, and my bill was over $1,000, my brain is going, oh my God, they called an ambulance? What the heck here? How much money could that possibly be? Now she's taken to the brand new local regional hospital. All right. I don't know that anybody actually examined her. Certainly no doctor came forth, but there's a protocol. So they did the protocol. Well, by the time my girlfriend Denise got in there, about an hour after she was admitted, this dear woman is higher than a kite, completely like smashed out of her mind. Well, Denise just happens to be a very fine healer. She's a kinesiologist. She's into natural healing. So she says to the chief nurse, what the heck? What's happened here? What did you give my mother-in-law? Well, the protocol is we gave her morphine and then Prozac. And Denise was like, you did what? What if she's had an addiction to any of these things? Do you even know what's happened? Well, no, we don't. Well, Denise checked the dear lady out. The woman had a sprained ankle. Now, this struck a big nerve with my friend Denise, a very big nerve, because a couple of years ago, Denise's brother, a recovering addict, who had been clean for 7 months, and it was a great challenge to get there. But he had to then go to the hospital for some sort of kidney stone, get a kidney stone passed or removed or whatever. The hospital did not take into account his past drug issues and gave him narcotics. Immediately, he was rehooked, immediately. Within 1 week of getting out of the hospital, he found himself in a very weird, dangerous spot, bought some illegal drugs, and was dead within 24 hours. So you start connecting the dots, and you ask about the sanity or the insanity of what is happening in our medical system. I'll tell you what, this bottom lined it for me, because in this past November, I really was seriously injured in a fall, and I chose not to go to a hospital. I questioned that enormously over the months, and there were times when my head still throbbed, and I thought, geez, I wonder if I made a mistake by not going to a hospital. I'm sorry, hospitals. I got news for you. I am one gratitude-filled woman that I did not go to a hospital. I'm afraid to think what I possibly would have been exposed to and how difficult, if ever, you can get off the stuff. So I have, believe it or not, I have nothing against hospitals for the bulk of the population. But for those of us who are walking that very fine line of trying to take good care of ourselves, stay away from anything that is addictive and debilitating, you got to think long and hard. Because where was the accountability for this mother-in-law? How dare they put her on this strong of stuff for a sprained ankle? And, oh, P.S., they thought she had a heart attack. Well, she never lost consciousness. What has happened to common sense? Look, open your eyes, look. So I have been firmly reminding myself that divine order permeates all. And I'll tell you, I've been hanging on to that mantra for dear life, so that if you have to go to a hospital, okay, I understand it, divine order permeates that. But do your best to take care of yourself and at least have a very strong advocate that if they're going to give you something, you ask and you know What is that? What are the side effects? What's it going to do for you? And is it going to mess with any stuff that you may already be on? So that's that about hospitals. Next thing, and this is astounding, and I've meant to mention this for the last 2 weeks running because it was something that occurred actually on Easter Sunday morning. Easter Sunday morning, I was very happily minding my own reality, cooking a little brunch for half of my family, for my son and my granddaughter. The other half was still up in Georgia. So I'm busy cooking away, and the phone rings, and ordinarily I wouldn't answer it if my family's there, just because it's not particularly polite, and I'm not addicted to my telephone. But it was a number that, I don't know, I could see, I didn't know it. I just had a sense of urgency about I should pick up. I picked up, and this lovely lady says, "Hello, is this Elaine Bartlett? Mm-hmm. Are you the Elaine Bartlett that possibly did consultations in Boca Raton 20 years ago?" Mm-hmm. Yep, one and the same. And she goes, "Oh," and she did mention her name. I won't mention that on the air. Mentions her name. And she said, 20 years ago, I had a phone consultation with you, and I never paid you. And I have felt badly and guilty ever since. And I would like to now send you the money." I was so taken aback because I'm one of the old world thinkers in this respect, but I'm also very diligently trying to hold the frequency to reestablish trust on the planet. So I kind of operate on the goodwill system often. If you tell me you're going to pay me, I believe you. I trust you. I worked my business this way up in New Jersey. And oftentimes, if some which way something got put in your bag that wasn't supposed to be there, dang nabbit, 100% of the time the person brought it back. So I believe in the honor system. And the solar system that I come from, there's always an even exchange of energy because there's a true knowingness. This is why oftentimes if you tell me, if you come to my home for a service and you quoted a fee of $75, and I know darn well you thought it would take a half hour, and you're now there an hour and a half. There is no way you will be leaving my home with $75. You will be leaving with twice as much as that, or whatever I could possibly afford. And I don't understand why humans don't get this. That's another mystery to me. That's another mystery right up there with torn jeans. If somebody has a good perspective on, because you feel it. You feel guilty and uncomfortable short changing the person. And I certainly thanked this woman profusely. And I've thought about it on and off now for these few weeks, which I'm glad I can finally put it to bed today because I won't think about it anymore. But what this did to her unconsciously isn't good. When you owe someone something, now look, sometimes there's a mistake and you don't realize you owed. That's not what I'm talking about. But when you have that unsettled feeling that something is unfinished, it actually creates, in its own way, almost an imaginary port into your energy system, and it actually siphons off energy so that you are not as crisp and clear-minded as you need to be. Energetically, things aren't open and available to you. Psychically, you can't go to the next level because there's like a low-grade siphoning. So please, pay your debts. Be honorable. There's more that happens. And unfortunately, she also had guilt. You know, it's all a huge drain. So God forbid in that 20-year time she had some illness, it would be very difficult to really, really heal 100%. And so now she can. And whoever you are out there, I thank you very much, because I know at the time I was charging about half of what I now charge. And she did ask me, what are you now charging? And, I hesitated to tell her, because I'm one who says, geez, if she can't pay, if she's in trouble, I don't want to make life more difficult for her. But I honestly told her what today's fee is. And darn it, that arrived. Not only did it arrive in my mail, it arrived in cash. And I got to tell you, cash is still king. So many thanks. I hope, as I did tell you, I would speak of this right that next week, but I get, as you can see, I get going on many things. But to you, beautiful woman up in New York, I thank you very much. Okay, so those of you who owe anybody anything, pay up. That's the bottom line. And because I want you to be healthy. I have a huge agenda in giving this radio show. In case you haven't figured it out, the agenda is I am doing my best to share with you every possible way for you to feel strong, centered, grounded. I don't care if it's telling you, would you please start drinking greens? This morning I had to tell somebody who lives up in the Bergen County area, you need to take a walk around the duck pond. Look, there's a beautiful duck pond up in Bridgewood. So for those of you who want to take a field trip, take a walk around the duck pond. Why? Because these are the simple things to keep us, to get us back into that space of knowing who we are. You'll never know who you are when you're flitting all over the place and not grounded. You'll never be able to accept the fact that you are God in drag. So I guess that's really my really deep hidden motivation, to get you there. I had the good fortune of speaking with yet another friend up in Bergen County this morning before she got out of her car and into the office. And she's very much on this same understanding wavelength as I am. And it is so comforting to know that where two are gathered and recognize that the me is false and there is only one. Man, this is huge. So lots of good stuff is happening. All right, now to get on, well, here's my number in case anybody wants to give me a different perspective on genes or anything else. 321-806-3159. And I'm giving out these numbers again, and I hope, Laurel, you're listening because you remind me to do this. And you can also contact me via Purple, that's the color purple, Portal, Portal 777 at gmail.com. Now, here's the next reason why you may want to really remain in touch with that Purple Portal 777 at gmail.com. Because today, once again, I'm going to suggest those of you that what I say resonates as far as the flying stars go, you need to send me your birth information. You need to send me $10, and I will do a printout of your 4 pillars and where you are in a 10-year cycle. Because one of the first things I'm going to talk about is on the May 5th, these pillars change. Okay. Now, we're going to go into, on May 5th, we actually step into the first month of summer. Now, I know in the Western civilization, they don't see it that way. They don't practice it that way. But this is an energy based on the moon, on the lunar system. And it's really very powerful because it's how the farmers know to plant successful crops before there was so much distortion about our crop planting. However, we will be getting back to the natural rhythm of things I trust sooner rather than later. So here we're going to be stepping into the first